that's the river. And I have a map here.
As the sun sets 10 miles south of the Mexican border town of Algodones, Alejandra Calvo and Juan Butron are checking a seed trap.
We look for seeds of cottonwoods and willows. But if you see all this white stuff, all of this is tamarisk.
Tamarisk, or salt cedar as it's also known, is a highly invasive species that has taken over large sections of the Colorado River Delta. It thrives where native vegetation, like cottonwood and willow, has died off because of poor soil and no water. At this and other sites along the river, scientists are looking at how well native vegetation is responding to the one-time rush of spring water. Under normal conditions, it would nourish seedlings and replenish the groundwater that mature trees depend on in this desert ecosystem. They're also studying whether birds and other wildlife that used to flourish here are coming back. Data from this and dozens of sites around the Colorado River Delta will help environmentalists and policymakers answer a question: how well is this massive restoration experiment working?
We haven't had a river for decades, so you can imagine delivering this pulse flow and then the base flow. We are learning a lot about the river, how it behaves, where it moves, how the ecosystem responds.
The so-called pulse flow that flooded the Delta this spring is over. But conservationists aren't standing by idly to see what happens. They're carefully tending restoration sites to help seedlings survive the dry, hot summer. And they're planting thousands of native willows and cottonwoods. Guadalupe Fonseca works for the Sonoran Institute, an environmental organization based in Tucson, Arizona. Now that there's no water coming from the dam, Fonseca explains, this restoration site is being fed with water from irrigation canals. Under the binational deal that included the Delta restoration experiment, Mexican and American conservation groups agreed to buy or lease water rights from farmers in the Delta. They'll use that water to keep a constant base flow running to key restoration sites over the next 4 years. They've enlisted celebrities to promote a fundraising campaign, with a twist of irony, to pay for the water.
By adding just a small amount of water to the river's flow, we can help bring life back to the wetlands and marshes in the Delta.
We got old Sundance riding around, trying to raise the Colorado River and restore its flow. And I say, do we really need more river? I mean, hell, we got plenty of ocean. Let's move it.
Meanwhile, scientists plan to have an initial report in August on the effects of the restoration efforts, although they say it'll take years to see real change. The results of this experiment will help policymakers determine the future of environmental management in the Colorado River Delta.
I don't feel a pressure to make this work. What I feel is this kind of excitement about seeing it work. When you begin walking down the river and you see the little seedlings coming out of the soil, you know that it is working.
With drought gripping the West and the prospects of an even drier climate in the future, setting aside water for conservation seems like a luxury. But conservationists say they're out to prove they can do a lot of environmental good with just a little flow. Jill Replogle, KPBS News.